the Minister of Information, His Excellency Labran Maku, my colleagues, ministers, particularly Elder Odubebe, Minister of Niger Delta, and his colleague, Minister of State, Niger Delta, Architect Dixon Dairos. The permanent secretaries of various ministries here present, that of Labor and Productivity, Niger Delta, and Information. Heads of different parastatals here present, the SSA to Mr. President on documentation, members of the civil society organization here present, other top government officials, ladies and gentlemen. I'll begin by saying that our ministry is one of the oldest ministries in the country, having come from way back, 1932, as a colonial office, up to the 50s when it became a ministry. The background is already contained in the documents that are already circulated, but the objectives of my presentation this morning is to elucidate the achievements and progress made by the ministry in the last 2 years. It is equally going to provide me an opportunity to tell you what the ministry has done in its own fair contribution to the transformation agenda of Mr. President, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. I'm going to give you factual information and statistical data which is presented to cover the performance of the ministry within the last 2 years of this administration. It is hoped that this presentation will acquaint the press and the public on the programs of this ministry, including the platforms for the implementation of the programs. It will also systematically renew its commitments towards delivering effective and efficient labor administration services to the Nigerian people as a seal of its contribution to democracy and good governance. The report I'm presenting here today highlights the key achievements in the sector in promoting the following: general qualitative labor administration processes, industrial peace and harmony as a basic framework for the attainment of high and stable productivity in the economy, and sustainable economic growth and development. Also, I'll talk about the formulation, implementation, as well as the monitoring of employment policies as initiated in the National Action Plan on Employment Creation, otherwise known as NAPEC. The NAPEC document is targeted at job creation, and through the establishment of more skills acquisition centers, implementation of the local content policy of employment in all sectors, and ensuring that there are fair labor practices to retain existing jobs. I will equally talk about unemployment and the retention of already existing jobs in the course of my presentation. I want to talk again on the enthronement of decent work, which is aimed at the attainment of its supporting four strategic pillars, namely job creation, rights at work, social protection, and social dialogue, with gender equality as a cross-cutting objective. The report further highlights the vision, mission, mandates, and everything we are supposed to do, both the legal framework. I will not bother you with that. I'll go straight to the business of the day. The ministry has 9 departments, and we have parastatals under the ministry: the National Directorate of Employment, Michael Imodu National Institute of Labor Studies, National Productivity Center, Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. The projects and programs of my ministry are: the first one that I did say at the beginning is tied to National Action Plan on Employment Creation, issuance of recruiter's license, Decent Work Program 1 and 2, Global Jobs Pact, National Action Plan for Active Aging, National Electronic Labor Exchange, and International Labor Migration Desk. Under the programs we executed within this period include also National Vocational Qualification Framework. Skills training centers were equally established. There were skills upgrading programs. Trade testing and certification was undertaken. I'll give you the details in the course of the presentation. Testing of final year students of technical colleges were undertaken. Rural Employment Promotion Program, Vocational Skills Development Program, Small Scale Enterprises Program was undertaken. And fundamentally, one of our major programs in the area of labor and factories inspection of all workplaces were undertaken to ensure health, safety, and environment conducive enough for workers to ply their trade. There was national program on elimination of worst form of child labor. My ministry within this period, precisely penultimate month, validated a national policy and action plan on elimination of child labor, which will be presented to the Federal Executive Council in due course. There was crisis and emergency response intervention and enforcement action on recalcitrant employees, extension of labor protection services to informal sector of the economy, quality assurance, universal coverage of the registration, inspection, and certification of pressure vessels, lifting equipment, and competent persons were carried out. We equally began the process of establishing an institute on occupational safety and health laboratory in Umuahia, Abia State. We equally undertook programs in National Workplace HIV/AIDS Response, which is part of the work of our ministry under the Inspectorate Division. We did research publication on labor and industrial relations. We began the award of diploma in industrial relations courses in our institute in Ilorin. In achieving this and carrying these programs, we did it in conjunction with our social partners, which is listed on the program and the slide you are seeing. Now to areas of our labor government employer relationship. The slide you are looking at is a slide containing a picture of the appearance of Mr. President at the recently concluded May Day Workers' Celebration for 2013. I want to put it on record that apart from this particular appearance of Mr. President during the May Day celebration, in 2010, after many years of any head of government or top echelon officials attending the workers' celebration, Mr. President appeared in 2010. In 2011, he said, Mr. Vice President, in 2012, I represented him. And in 2013, he was there again to solidarize with the Nigerian workers. It was in one of those appearances in 2010 that Mr. President directed myself and the then head of civil service of the Federation, Mr. Steve Orasanya, to look at the current salaries at the federal government level, which was nothing to take home, which was not a living wage. It was at 7,500. At the end of that exercise, under the directives and watch of Mr. President, workers at the federal government level got a 53.46% increment in their salary, and it has been implemented. Continuing, most people believe that what we do in the Ministry of Labor is resolution of conflict between labor and government. It is one minute aspect of what we do in the ministry, and in these last 2 years, we have done more than resolution of conflict. But be it as it may, I will boldly state to you that under the period in review, we received so many hundreds of labor disputes from all the states of the Federation, from all the unions operating under the labor administration system. And out of the whole we received, of particular mention are 213 labor complaints and trade disputes which were declared properly and in conformity with the labor laws and the Trade Dispute Act. And out of these 213, 174 of the declared trade disputes were resolved through mediation, conciliation, or mediating. Mr. President, who is a believer in the rule of law and proper social dialogue between people, will step in. And once he steps in, that's the final point of conciliation. I want to put it on record that in the last 2 years, Mr. President participated personally in 3 such dispute resolution, and they were resolved. While 25 cases were resolved through referral to the arbitration and judicial adjudication. And what I mean is that some of them went to the Industrial Arbitration Panel and the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, and some we've received documents showing award for the adjudication. Equally, we monitor the implementation of the Minimum Wage Act and the relativity concept. You will recall that my ministry is one ministry that has provisions in the Constitution. In the schedule to the Constitution, the current Constitution of 1999, which has been amended, item 34 on the exclusive list bestows the powers to the federal government to legislate on new Minimum Wage Act. At the inception of this administration, what was being paid to Nigerian civil servants all over the country was a meager 7,500 in some instances, and a dichotomy of 5,000 something in some other respect. It was alluded to by the Minister of Information. It took Mr. President to realize that Nigerian workers have not fared well in terms of pay and relativity issues, and instituted a committee headed by Justice Bergoria that came out with a minimum wage of 18,000 naira to apply across the 36 states, including the federal government. I will tell you that implementation is almost 100%, but at the federal government, we have implemented fully. And we are monitoring developments in other states of the Federation. There are labor issues that emanated from the power sector reform. You will agree with me that the reform and roadmap was set by Mr. President in 2010. And you will agree that reforms, transformations, and labor in respect to power sector reform. In January 2012, like I told you, that when we don't conclude conciliation and mediation at my level, Mr. President assumes the role of mediation. In 2012, we were faced with a crisis that arose because of partial removal of fuel subsidy. Within the trying period of 6 days, we were able to resolve it under the leadership of our dear President, who led discussions between all arms of government except the judiciary and all the labor unions. And today, what Mr. President promised Nigerians that will be done from the savings of and gas sector. They came with a 21 points of agitation. We resolved it, and most people did not know about it because services were not disrupted. Because in Ministry of Labor and Productivity, we have adopted a proactive stance to make sure that people, Nigerians like you, do not suffer from unnecessary strikes. When I come to the real details, you'll find that the number of shutouts or strikes have decreased over the period of 2 years in question. Very recently, we resolved a long-standing labor issue of trade unionism in One Export Processing Zone. We engaged in social dialogue with the two federations of trade unions, NLC and TUC, over various concerns of their affiliate trade union. I want to tell you that we've enjoyed good working relationship with the trade unions with respect to the principles enunciated by ILO. We are guided by the principles and conventions of ILO and law, especially the trade dispute, which has promoted social dialogue, exploiting it, and it is working. Equally of mention, though isolated, but I have to state it because on labor issues, the federal government enjoys exclusivity and concurrence with some states of the federation. We apprehended within 2 days of the trade dispute that lasted 8 months in Plateau State of Nigeria. We invited them and we resolved it. And today the workers have gone back. That shows complementary federalism in action. On that, there are various issues. It is listed and being prompted that I will need 20 minutes to finish. There were constructions of skills acquisition centers. We completed the 3, one in Jigawa, one in Zamfara, one in Cross River State. We rehabilitated 10 agri-skills training centers, one in Abia, Ebonyi, Kaduna, Benue, Oyo, Kwara, Taraba, Delta, Ogun, and Kano states. We constructed 9 skills acquisition centers by NDE in collaboration with the MDG. It was constructed in 3 senatorial zones of Akwa Ibom, Ondo, and Nasarawa states. There are ongoing construction of 10 model skills acquisition centers in Katsina, Sokoto, Yobe, FCT, Delta, Anambra, Rivers, Kwara, Ekiti, and Oyo. The one in Katsina was commissioned 3 weeks ago by my humble self in Rimaya in Katsina. So we'll still go on to commission 2 remaining ones. Within that period, the board of NSITF was inaugurated, and they've been doing a lot of coordination and the extension of social security coverage and awareness campaign on employees' compensation scheme. There is a process in NSITF to effectively execute its new mandate. The board is already working on it. We commissioned and opened a new NSITF office building in Lagos. We've held critical meetings with stakeholders in the multinational oil companies and NNPC, and progress has been made on the modus operandi of the need for contribution to the NSITF Employee Compensation Scheme, which is provided by the Employee Compensation Act of 2010. This act is a product of President Goodluck Jonathan. On assumption of office, he took process through the Ministry of Labor and Productivity to repeal and come up with a modern Employee Compensation Act. What was in existence was an archaic Workmen Compensation Act and a moribund NSITF. But today, NSITF has come back to life and it is working, and we've been able to achieve a lot with the support of Mr. President. Again, we undertook the application of productivity audits. Improvement tools stroke techniques were recorded. 79% achievement of the year's target, which led to the conferment of 65 number of productivity order of merit award. I will go through and then come back to these other issues. Under the employment and job creation paradigm, we have the NAPEC document which I mentioned earlier. The NAPEC document has identified 11 key sectors as growth drivers to be harnessed for immediate job creation. These include the areas of agriculture and food security, commerce and industry, power and energy, works, housing and urban development, petroleum, gas and solid minerals, transportation, land, water and air, information and communication, informal economy, education, health, tourism, culture, entertainment and sports. I want to confirm to you that a lot of jobs have been created under these sectors and they are still ongoing. Under employment and job creation, like the Minister of Information said, the federal government within this period came out with a policy called the Local Employment Content Initiative. What this means is that ministries, departments, and agencies are expected mandatorily, while presenting their contract memos and programs, they must include an aspect of employment. And within the last count, we've done between May 2011 and May 2010 an estimated figure of 198,534 jobs were created through this particular initiative. The ministry also engaged the International Labour Organization on entrepreneurship development, start and improve your business, and that yielded a lot of results. We equally engaged forced labor held in Sokoto, Imo, and Lagos states. Under the employment efforts of the ministry, we have an electronic platform which is called NELEX. It is a sophisticated mechanism developed for the delivery of labor exchange services. It is an electronic platform that enables job seekers and employers of labor to meet online and access employment services. The ministry over the past 2 years, ranging from 2011 to May 2013, recorded a total of 97.53%, which translates to 6,952 interactions as against our target of 7,128 on the number of applications received from public and private employment agencies for registration. Like the minister said, there are a lot of job creation activities of government. A lot of jobs have been created within this period, especially in the areas I listed above. But the problem is to track these job initiatives of federal government. In pursuit to it, Mr. President in November 2012 created a standing committee on job creation. And it has me as chairman, and various members are from various ministries, including the National Bureau of Statistics and other stakeholders in that sector. And terms of reference includes, but not limited to, the few I will mention because of time constraint. The committee is charged to identify all potential areas for massive job creation across the nation, track all strategies employed by government to create jobs and identify challenges and mitigating factors against their effectiveness. Sensitize all existing job programs to ensure increased synergy and reduce waste associated with duplication of various efforts. In tracking employment and job creation, we have developed an action plan that will demonstrate the commitment of government to making tangible and measurable progress in this direction. We have continued to coordinate other ministries in terms of the job creation aspects of their ministry, monitor and report all their job creation efforts and successes. Very soon, figures will be published from the National Bureau of Statistics of the exact job creation efforts. Under the ministry, we have National Directorate of Employment. The NDE, as you all know, was created to combat the problems of mass unemployment. In this regard, the NDE, since its creation in 1987, has initiated a number of programs, including the basic programs of provision of vocational skills acquisition training to school leavers, provision of entrepreneurial business training to graduates of tertiary institutions, training for rural employment, training for labor-based work programs, and resettlement of trained beneficiaries. If you go down the slides, you will see it there. And there are pictures to show the successful training we've done, even in collaboration with other agencies. We have, within the period, particularly, specifically in May 2012, we collaborated with the Office of the First Lady in the training and certification of women under her PET program. We equally, through NDE, did capacity building and skill development that targeted 360,000 unemployed people. We provided 4,379 soft loans to set up micro and cottage industries, provided 3,255 temporary jobs, offered 59,925 employment, 139,371 candidates took part in our skill acquisition program, both technical and agri. The following pictures show commissionings of various skills acquisition centers in Anambra, Katsina. The other pictures show an innovative program of NDE called the Lady Chauffeur Training Scheme, which was flagged off by Her Excellency the First Lady, Dr. Patience Goodluck. Down the line, for reason of time, there are other initiatives of government like the UWIN, which is the Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria initiative of the government, though not my own, not domiciled in my ministry, but it is good that we mention it, is one successful employment flagship of the government, which is being undertaken by the coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance. It has created a lot of jobs in that regard. There is Public Works Women and Youth Empowerment Program of the Shopee. A lot of jobs have been created. The Minister of Niger Delta alluded to the fact that as they work on roads, jobs are being created. Ditto with the Ministry of Works, itself, and Transportation with the rail services that are ongoing. We inaugurated a committee on database for unemployed Nigerian youths and issued recruiter's license. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting ready to conclude. There is a very good aspect of the Shopee program, which is called the Community Services Scheme, Women and Youth Empowerment Program of the Shopee. The ministry, which is Ministry of Labor and Productivity, took over this particular aspect of Shopee in the month of April, and the scheme already has engaged 120,000 persons out of the 185,000 targeted for the year 2013. The community service, Women and Youth Empowerment Project, is one of the components under the Social Safety Net Program, SSNP, which is just one out of the 8 programs, like I said, under the subsidy program. Within a short period of time, Shopee has been able to pay up to date stipends that were either owed were within the process of being paid up to the month of May. The Shopee unit, which is now in the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, has begun process of appraisal and monitoring to make sure that the noble objectives of this program is not lost. Recently, penultimate Thursday, I was in a tour with my colleague, the Minister of Information, and representatives of various ministers who are connected with this program, and the political advisor to Mr. President, and various heads of parastatals connected with job creation and skill acquisition in Delta State to flag off a 6 geopolitical zone tour to sensitize the people, appraise what has taken place, and get on the spot information from the beneficiaries and the stakeholders. I want to tell you that that program in Delta State, Asaba, was quite successful. The 3,426 people already engaged in Delta State were all there, donning their reflective jacket, and we went to project sites, and it was humbling to sit with them, listen to what came out from the beneficiaries. Full gratitude to the federal government for putting in place this particular program. The traditional rulers who were our point of call at the inception of this program were all there. They were full of commendation to Mr. President. Also, earlier in that day, we visited the governor of Delta State, Dr. Emmanuel Eweta Uduagan. He was equally full of praises and promised continued collaboration with the federal government. And it is on record that most states are copying the example set by federal government in the usage of the savings that has accrued to the federal government in terms of using it to empower the youth of Nigeria. We did a lot in skills development and certification, like I said. There was a lot done in social security. It is on the document that has been circulated. You all know that social security is an evolving structure. Nigeria is still basically trying to grow the concept to an acceptable international standard. We are at the stage of putting in place the social security policy that would reflect the nation's needs and level of economic development, taking into consideration the traditional as well as the modern socio-cultural values and norms. To this end, the ministry participated in a meeting of a task force by the ECOWAS Commission in 2012 to finalize the document on the ILO Convention number 102. I mentioned the area of Employee Compensation Act is in the same direction. The social security paradigm will include students' loan scheme, health maintenance organization, health and safety, and all that is listed. I have taken you through the productivity activities of the ministry. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, occupational and health safety remains the main focus of our ministry. We have reduced the number of lockouts occasioned or loss of man hours occasioned by accidents at workplace by improved and continued inspection of factories, and that has resulted in the reduction of loss of man hours due to injuries. In that aspect, the NSITF2 has settled compensation arising from workplace accidents. The percentages of achievement is contained under our KPIs, which is part of the document. A cursory look at it will show that we've even surpassed the target we set for ourselves for the period. In conclusion, and quickly, the Ministry of Labor and Productivity strives to discharge its statutory functions despite challenges and constraints are observed above. including the support we got from the members of the media. These achievements would not have been fully achieved without the support of all of you Nigerians. Without the support for I will quickly again thank my social partners, NECA, NLC, and TUC for supporting us in the achievement of these laudable goals by making themselves available for social dialogue and for us to make ourselves available for social dialogue. I want to thank specially the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, for the unrelenting support that he has given to my ministry to see it grow from almost moribund stage it was before 2010 when he became acting president to this enviable position we have achieved within a relative period of time. I want you again, for me to reciprocate this good gesture, I want you to continue not only to support me as the minister in the Ministry of Labor and Productivity to reciprocate this good gesture Mr. President has extended to us, but in the overall interest of the country to support the transformation agenda of Mr. President, which is all encompassing and not limited to Ministry of Labor, though we are central to the attainment and the achievement of that transformation agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been prompted that my time is up. I'm saying it. Thank you and God bless.